Hey, Mike here. I just wanted to let you know that you can listen to Dark Poutine early and ad-free on Amazon Music, included with Prime.
You're about to listen to a historical episode of Dark Poutine. After episode 149, you will find Scott is no longer with the show. In an effort to maintain continuity and offer listeners as many episodes as possible, we are leaving the episodes in which he co-hosted intact. Thank you.
Welcome to Dark Poutine. I'm Mike Brown, creator and host. With me, as usual, is my good friend and co-host, Scott Hemingway. Say hello, Scott.
I'd like to take a minute.
Okay.
To thank all of you lovely, lovely people.
Well, there you go.
Thank you. Applause.
The views, information, and opinions expressed during the Dark Poutine podcast are solely those of the producer and do not necessarily represent those of CuriousCast, its affiliate Global News, nor their parent company, Chorus Entertainment.
Dark Poutine is not for the faint of heart or squeamish. Listener discretion is strongly advised. We're not experts on the topics we present, nor are we journalists. We're two ordinary Canadians chatting about crime and the dark side of history. Let's get to it. Put on your toque, grab yourself a double-double and a Nanaimo bar. It's time to scarf down some Dark Poutine. Well, there you go. This is episode 95.
Holy shit, we're knocking on 100's door.
Yeah, and this is one that I hope will make people think about some things. It's a topic that is very divisive at times.
Oh shit, okay.
We're going to present it in a way that we hope is true to everybody in the story.
Okay, all right.
Okay?
I'm curious.
And this is another one that I have a lot of personal connections to.
Wow, okay.
Way more, actually, I think, than many of the ones that we've already covered. Yes.
Okay.
So there you go.
Oh.
It was Tuesday, August 1st, 1995, a mild summer evening in Ottawa, Ontario, our nation's capital.
Mm-hmm.
A beat-up car pulled up to the curb near the CJOH TV building on Merivale Road at around 6:50 p.m. The same car had been noticed there twice earlier in the day, at 6:50 a.m. and 12:30 p.m., and that's around the scheduled times of the newscasts. The nightly news hour had finished an hour earlier, and most folks involved had already left for the day. A heavy-set man got out of the car, limped around to the rear of the vehicle, and opened the trunk. He dug around for a few moments, finally extracting a .22 caliber rifle. It was loaded and ready to go. His hair was freshly cut and his beard was newly trimmed. The man turned and walked into the parking lot of the TV station, rifle in hand. His plan was to shoot the first person he saw coming out of the building. That person was the station's much-loved sportscaster and former NHL hockey player Brian Smith. Brian was headed to one of the many charity events that he attended each year. This one was for the Children's Wish Foundation. The man took aim and 2 shots rang out. One bullet struck Brian Smith directly in his forehead. The 2 small brass shell casings from each shot clattered to the ground as Brian Smith, lovingly known as Smitty to his hockey pals and fans, collapsed in the parking lot. He was bleeding from a mortal wound. The man calmly walked back to his car, returned the rifle to the trunk, got back in, and drove away. In the shooter's mind, he had done what he had to do. To him, this was the only way, other than what he'd tried already, to get the attention he felt he needed. To him, this horrific act was entirely the right thing to do. He was headed home to wait for police. He believed they already knew what he'd done, and where he was because he believed his thoughts were being monitored. This is NCR, the slaying of Brian Smith and the life of Jeffrey Arenburg.
Okay, I think I know this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So the next day, the papers cried, "Sportscaster gunned down." The Ottawa Citizen reported that the gunman was a white male between 35 and 40 years old. He was between 5'11 and 6 feet tall, weighing between 180 and 210 pounds. They described him as scruffy with a pot belly, short brown hair, and a trim beard. He wore a green t-shirt and jeans. He left the scene in a beige, late 80s or early 90s Ford Crown Victoria, which turned onto Clyde Avenue. The car was last seen eastbound on the Queensway, east of Maitland Avenue. We obtained much of the archived coverage of the shooting from the Ottawa Citizen newspaper's reporting on Brian Smith's shooting and the aftermath. Brian Smith's wife, Alana Keynes, worked at the newspaper at the time.
Oh, geez.
Alana later told the Fifth Estate's Bob McCune that she heard about the shooting at CJOH by way of the newspaper scanner. Worried for Brian's safety, she called the station. They told her that Brian was fine, which was not true.
Oh.
But she seemed grateful later on for their dishonesty.
So they intentionally said that, eh?
Yeah, because they didn't want to tell her.
Okay.
They thought that it was the police's place to tell her, I guess.
I get
I'm
it.
speculating.
I get it, but I'd maybe say, we don't know, call the police, but...
Yeah. Alana found out soon after that Brian's injuries were grave. The only hope he had for any kind of recovery would involve severe impairment and most likely would require years of close medical care. Hope soon led to grief as Brian passed away at 1:40 p.m. on August 2nd, 1995, at the Ottawa Civic Hospital. Brian Smith was 54 years old. Brian Smith was born in Ottawa. He loved his hometown and the people in it. He came from a hockey family. A lot of hockey players do.
Yeah, it's typically, not actually in the genes, but there's a passing down component of tradition.
There are many hockey families here in Canada, that's for sure.
Yes.
His dad, Des Smith, played in the NHL, most notably for the Montreal Canadiens and the Boston Bruins.
Oh, so they had both played in the NHL.
His younger brother, Gary, was a goaltender who played for the NHL for a few teams, including our very own Vancouver Canucks in the 74 and 75 and the 75-76 seasons. According to the Ottawa Citizen, Gary earned the hockey nickname Suitcase for being traded so many times.
Okay, yeah.
That's quite a hockey joke, actually.
Yeah.
At the time of the shooting, Gary was living in Vancouver working at a horse racing track, and I assume that was probably Hastings. Yeah. Brian had played 13 years of pro hockey before getting into broadcasting. He'd spent 2 seasons in the NHL playing for the original Los Angeles Kings and later the Minnesota North Stars. Over 2 seasons, Brian played 67 games, scored 10 goals, had 10 assists, and 33 penalty minutes. He even played 7 games in the playoffs.
That would be quite a rush.
Right?
Yeah.
So, he wasn't a superstar hockey player by any means if he's scored 10 goals in 2 seasons, but to score a single goal in the NHL is quite a feat.
To make it to the NHL is quite a feat.
Exactly.
To play 2 seasons is
100%
pretty remarkable.
Yeah. After retiring from hockey at the end of the 73 season, he became a sports anchor at CJOH and was a fixture there after that. He'd auditioned for the job with 0 experience, but the news director, Max Keeping, had seen a lot of potential, so Brian was hired and started almost right away.
Well, there's an experience to hiring a professional athlete.
Yep.
You might not have broadcasting experience, but you have the sports experience. You have the pedigree. You know what you're talking about.
And Brian was known to be able to talk.
Yeah.
Brian had met his wife, Alana, when she was interning at CJOH. The two fell for each other and were married in 1993 after dating for 6 years. The nuptials took place in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, at the City Hall. According to the Ottawa Citizen, the couple were, quote, wearing their best golf clothes. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Alana was quoted in the Ottawa Citizen as saying, quote, he was happy all the time, witty, good-humored, always optimistic. She said he felt embarrassed when someone asked him for an autograph. She also recalled, quote, he had no patience for phoniness. He really likes genuine people. He's not a schmoozer.
Oh, I love this dude.
Yeah. His friends said he, quote, showed up every day, which in hockey terms is quite a compliment.
Yeah.
A quote attributed to Brian Smith in the August 2nd, 1995 edition of the Ottawa Citizen sums up the kind of guy he was. Quote, whatever I say, I always believe in, but you can't say I'm not going to say this because this is going to piss a lot of people off. If you want to say it, say it. Let the chips fall where they may. You can't hit a home run every night. End quote.
Interesting.
So, he knows he's a sportscaster and he's going to say some things that are going to upset fans. And, get people wound up and writing letters. And at first, people thought maybe this person who shot him was a fan who was upset with something that he had said about a particular sports team.
And I think in some capacity we can relate in the sense of, it doesn't matter what you say when you're in a public sphere.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you say. You're going to piss some people off. So
for sure.
Just say what you believe.
Exactly. Some Ottawa streets were closed for Brian Smith's funeral at St. Patrick's Basilica on Nepean Street for a massive crowd of over 4,000 wishing to attend.
That's beautiful.
From Wikipedia, quote, the Ottawa Senators honored him with a Smitty 18 patch on their jerseys, which they wore for the 95-96 season, and with a banner hanging in the rafters at Canadian Tire Centre. The press box at Canadian Tire Centre was also renamed the Brian Smitty Smith Press Box in his honor.
Oh.
Flags flew at half-mast at an Ottawa Lynx baseball game, and a tribute was held by the Ottawa Rough Riders, not the Ottawa Rough Riders. Sorry to make that joke.
Inside Canadian joke.
Whose players raised their helmets while the crowd joined in a 1-minute cheer.
Oh.
So he was a much-loved guy in Ottawa.
Well, just hearing about him, not even knowing him or watching him, he sounds like a really, really cool chap.
Yeah, being regional, typically the sports are regional. We wouldn't have gotten to see him here. No. But he would be like our Tom Larscheid or someone like that who people really look to, or John Shorthouse.
Squire Barnes.
One of those folks. Exactly. Squire, who works for Global, which is a chorus feeling it.
He's a much he didn't play hockey.
Physically, I think he's like you and has brittle bones.
Yeah, no, physically he's not one to follow that path, but he's much loved.
Being the giving person that Brian Smith was, his organs were donated and other people got to live longer and better lives after he passed away.
Brilliant.
The day after the shooting, a man fitting the description of the gunman presented himself to the Ottawa police. The man's name was Jeffrey Arenburg. The 39-year-old, limping and walking with the aid of a cane, sat down with officers and admitted he was the one who had shot Brian Smith. The meeting was recorded. You can watch part of it in the Fifth Estate's episode on this case, and you'll find a link to that in our show notes.
I love the Fifth Estate.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
Jeffrey sits calmly in the video, arms crossed, his cane on one leg leaning across his thigh. Some of what Arenburg said was not making much sense to the officers. After describing what he'd done, investigators asked him the only question really remaining, in why.
Yeah.
Jeffrey said, I quote, I can't get it before the courts because no one will listen to me. If everyone had equal rights to the law, shit like what happened would not happen. That's all I got to say about it.
Vague?
Right,
yeah.
So what do you mean? Jeffrey asked, do you hear people talking in the background in like a low frequency? And he also said, it don't exactly come from the radio, but it's like in the background. And then he followed up with, it's through the airwaves or something.
Well, that's a pretty strong indication of where his mind is at.
He's a person with problems.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Arenburg was saying that he'd been tortured by voices going back years. He'd run into trouble a few times, and we'll talk more about that later, claiming people were stealing his thoughts, broadcasting them, or even making movies based on them. He claimed he knew who Brian Smith was, but had no issue with him or his family. Brian Smith was, according to Jeffrey, quote, in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was that simple to him. For years, he'd wanted someone to listen to him. Shooting Brian Smith was what he saw as an act that would prove to the world he was being persecuted.
Okay.
It was in Jeffrey's mind the action of a desperate man. He was hoping now that he would get a face-to-face meeting with the Prime Minister.
Yeah, that's not how it works, but this guy's clearly, his head is not functioning properly.
Yeah. Arenburg was taken into custody, his rifle seized from the trunk of his car. Jeffrey was charged with first-degree murder and immediately ordered by the court to undergo a 60-day psychiatric assessment. Mm-hmm. A list of other media personalities was found at Arenburg's apartment.
Oh, okay.
He had other people on his mind. So who was Jeffrey Arenburg?
Great question.
First off, surprise, it's another case that I have connections to. This time I know many of the players.
Okay. All right, I'm intrigued.
Jeffrey Robert Arenburg was born in Bridgewater, Nova Scotia. That's right, my hometown. On December 30th, 1956. His family had a farm in Upper Northfield where my grandmother was from.
Okay.
And he and I are most likely cousins in some distant way. It's a very, very small community, and everybody there is related. Not incestually, but everybody there is related to each other.
That is fascinating.
Jeffrey dropped out of school in grade 9 and worked as a scallop fisherman and also at the Michelin tire plant briefly, which is what keeps my hometown running. He'd married briefly, and before they divorced, he and his wife had a child.
Oh.
According to his family, from an Ottawa Citizen article 4 days after the shooting, Jeffrey showed his first hints of mental instability as early as 1983 when he was 27. The article was unspecific as to what the initial signs were. In 1989, though, Jeffrey had a fall, badly injuring his back. He also suffered head trauma at the time.
Okay.
He was unable to work anymore and had to walk with a cane afterward.
There's where the cane comes from. Okay.
He said much later on that this is when the voices in his head started in earnest.
Interesting. Right after he has some severe head trauma. Interesting. Okay.
He started to travel back and forth between Ottawa and Nova Scotia. Due to his disabilities, he needed to do something less manual for work. He decided on studying materials management at Algonquin College in Ottawa in 1990.
I have no idea what materials management is. I guess managing of materials.
Yes, you are probably correct, Scott. In July of 1990, the voices in Jeffrey Arenburg's head were speaking loudly to him. On a trip home to Bridgewater, Arenburg went to the courthouse on Pleasant Street at the time and caused a ruckus there.
Oh, no.
He was at the courthouse ranting that his thoughts were being broadcast over the local radio on a drug channel. He was angry with his ex-wife's family as he believed they were in cahoots with MGM selling his thoughts to make movies. He wanted the court to make them stop. He warned that if his thoughts continued to be broadcast and his rights were trodden upon any further, he would burn down his ex-wife's family home or kill someone. He said he'd even contacted then Prime Minister Brian Mulroney for help while in Ottawa. He was adamant that the courts help him.
We all know where this goes because we talked about it at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I can't help but have immense empathy for what he's going through because all of these things that he is hearing in his mind, I'm believing they're real. They're real to him. They are real to him.
They are 100% real to him.
Living that life with your brain convincing you of these things, it is not fun.
No. The police station at the time was on the same block, so the Bridgewater Town Police responded quickly. Jeffrey was taken into custody and driven across the bridge to the South Shore Regional Hospital's psychiatric ward for assessment.
Yeah.
The same one I would be in 3 months later.
Jesus, that recent after?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if he and I crossed paths there or not. It may have been. I don't know. I don't really remember that time very well. But the psychiatrist on duty determined that Jeffrey was suffering from paranoid psychosis.
Yeah.
And after promising to seek outpatient treatment, Jeffrey Arenburg was released as he was demanding to leave, and they couldn't hold him involuntarily.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
If they say, do you still want to hurt anybody or yourself? And he says no, they have to let him
Because
go.
that's the key qualifier for involuntary, if you're deemed a threat to yourself or anybody else.
That's right.
And so if
he was saying, no, I'm not going to hurt anybody, they have to take him at his word.
and has a history of not doing that, then yeah. Yep.
In May of 1991, Jeffrey Arenburg was back in Ottawa. His problems were escalating. Jeffrey claimed that the CJOH radio staff were broadcasting his thoughts on a low-frequency drug channel. He wanted to hurt people there, so his issues with the illegal broadcasts could finally be brought before the courts. He was taken to the Royal Ottawa Hospital by police, where he was admitted involuntarily.
Yeah.
Again, Arenburg left the hospital against medical advice because he said he wasn't going to hurt anybody or himself.
Yep.
In October 1991, Arenburg returned to Nova Scotia, where he went back to the Bridgewater courthouse and broke windows when he was refused an audience with a judge. This time, he was sent to the Nova Scotia Psychiatric Hospital near Dartmouth for a very brief period, but was quickly transferred back to Bridgewater, where he again left after demanding release against medical advice, again saying, okay, I'm all better now, you can just let me go.
Yeah.
Back and forth between the two provinces he went. He'd been banned from the Parliament buildings by now as he was trying to get in touch with the new PM, Jean Chrétien, repeatedly showing up on the grounds and ranting as he tried to get into the buildings. Back in Bridgewater in 1992, he took his complaints to the manager of the local radio station CKBW. Their studios were above the McKay's Pharmacy in Bridgewater in the plaza at the time. The manager, then, was a very kind man, now passed away, and his name was Robert McLaren, or Bob, to his friends, and my parents were friends of his.
Oh, wow, okay.
I was interested in radio, and thanks to my dad, Bob took us on a tour of the radio station in 1987. I really wanted to work there, but Bob injected reality into my ideas at the time, suggesting broadcasting school first.
Well, that would be the most logical trajectory,
At the time.
Mike.
At the time.
I know.
So back in 1992, Jeffrey was in an agitated state when he met with Bob McLaren, and McLaren feared that Arenburg was going to hit him with his cane.
Yeah, I would imagine he was probably quite agitated. And yeah.
Arenburg was claiming CKBW was broadcasting his thoughts, and they too were helping to sell them to MGM. Bob assured Jeffrey this was not true, and as McLaren showed Arenburg the door, Jeffrey turned and punched Bob in the jaw, screaming, "That's for lying to me," as he stormed out.
Again, I think it's...
So it's escalating.
That violence is not okay. It's not acceptable, but I'm trying to just be like, this guy, in this guy's head, like, this is happening. It's real.
100% real.
You are lying to him, Mike. You're lying to him that you're not broadcasting his thoughts. And like, so how would we all react if we were in a situation where we're convinced that this is all happening and you're going to want to fight back? Yeah.
Jeffrey was charged with assault and had amassed 3 drinking and driving convictions, as well as a conviction of driving while suspended. Jeffrey missed his court date and a bench warrant was issued, but they knew where he was. He was in Ottawa. The crimes were too petty to go through the expensive procedure to drag him back.
I get it.
And we'll take a bit of a break here. And we're back. Jeffrey Arenburg returned to Bridgewater. He turned himself into police in the summer of 1994. Judge Joseph Kennedy, also a family friend that we've mentioned before, presided over Arenburg's sentencing hearing on the assault charge against Mr. McLaren. It's a small town, so everybody knows everybody. When Judge Kennedy asked if Arenburg wanted to address the court, he jumped at the chance.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
From an Ottawa Citizen article from the 5th of August, 1995, and please bear with me. This might be hard to follow. We'll briefly break it down after the quote,
Okay.
but it's in Jeffrey's language.
We're hearing how his brain functions.
Correct. Or we're hearing how his brain functions out of his mouth. We're not really hearing really how it functions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying.
I do.
Quote, "Okay," he said. "I'd like to know why I can't get legal representation to do something about CKBW and their drug channel room. What I can make out, just what they call it. Why can't I get the Privacy Act and prove telling the future on me and frigging me up in everyday life? I'd like to have an explanation. I know I heard your voice over the channel, the same with the prosecutor, so I'd like to have an explanation, you know." He went on to say, "The Queen of England knows who I am in real life, so if that's any consequence to the situation, I might as well tell you now, and I have a number where, like, it can be proven to you in person, so." End quote.
Yeah, I just feel sad.
Yeah, he's decompensated to the point where he really believes that CKBW and any place where he's living are broadcasting his thoughts in a way that his private thoughts are somehow, over the airwaves, and everybody else knows about it, and he believes this too.
And he's as confident in this as we are in our lives. Mm-hmm. It would be like if somebody's suddenly telling you, no, Carol doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Carol doesn't, that job you used to go, no, that never happened, Mike. And in your mind, it happened.
Yeah.
Like
I would argue with you.
Yeah. It's as, in his mind, it's as convincing as we are living our lives.
Some people would probably make fun of somebody who's at that point.
Well, I mean, and I'm not to be a jerk, but I can also, we do have that reaction where either you laugh or you cry. And so sometimes you do make light of it. Yeah. But
you just kind of roll your eyes and, that person's crazy, but this person needs help.
Yeah,
what he needs.
If you actually understand mental health, when you're seeing somebody react and communicate and behave like this, if you get it, then you're going to have nothing but sadness and empathy.
Right. So, I don't know. I mean, like you said, he thoroughly believes what he's saying.
Yeah.
And he feels like he's getting no justice.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
So he's getting angrier and angrier.
Yeah.
He's becoming resentful at the situation because nobody is paying attention to him and his concerns.
A thing that to him is real.
Real. So in the end, in spite of the bizarre rant, Judge Kennedy fined Jeffrey Arenburg $300. He put him on probation and told him to stay away from CKBW.
Mm-hmm.
This is the point some have looked at, saying that more could have been done for Jeffrey, but could it? Sure, he has clearly decompensated mentally, and he was not claiming he was going to harm anyone or himself at this point, which is what's considered when somebody is involuntarily hospitalized.
Yep.
So I'm not even sure Judge Kennedy could have legally ordered him for assessment in the situation, given the current laws.
And if he did, in all honesty, it would have just been a very similar result to the other times, be it days, weeks later. I'm doing good. I'm not going to hurt anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
A CBC article that I read stated, quote, "The court assumed that as part of his probation he would receive treatment, but he did not," end quote. Regardless, Jeffrey wasn't getting the help he needed in the broken system. Perhaps what came next could have been prevented. The system failed Brian Smith and Jeffrey Arenburg on a number of levels.
Okay.
When Jeffrey Arenburg went back to Ottawa this time, he had his .22 caliber rifle and ammunition in the trunk of his car. He moved into a 2-bedroom apartment with a couple, a friend and the friend's girlfriend. He was going back to classes at Algonquin College, but the voices persisted. After the shooting, it took a while for the case to come to the courts.
Okay, yeah.
Because, first of all, we had to initially deem, is this person fit to stand trial?
Yeah, no, that makes total sense, yeah.
So he was released from the hospital on September 29th, 1995, to await trial in prison because he's deemed, fit to stand trial. He was sent back to the hospital for a month in 1996, and over the next year and a half, he began refusing medication.
Oh, okay.
His mental state deteriorated, and the delusions and hallucinations invaded his world again.
Yeah, probably increasing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not going to be taking any meds or anything, the thoughts are not going to be getting better.
Right. On February 17th, 1997, another hearing finds Jeffrey now unfit to stand trial. So he's sent back to the hospital. This time, he is involuntarily medicated.
Yeah.
So according to a CBC article on February 18th, 1997, quote, "The court orders Arenburg be returned to the Royal so he may be treated and made fit to stand trial. Being rendered fit to stand trial are the only circumstances under which someone can be forced to accept medication. He is started on an injection of a long-acting antipsychotic drug," end quote.
Interesting. Okay.
So I couldn't find anything to back that up, that this is the only time they can give you medication involuntarily.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes sense
Yep,
because
yep.
they want to ensure that the court case gets handled and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's fairly interesting that this is the only situation in Canada where that's okay to involuntarily give somebody medication.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the time.
Well, yeah, I guess we take that seriously. We take,
human rights.
yeah.
Yeah.
How dare we?
From the same article, in April 21st, 1997, Arenburg no longer is experiencing hallucinations or delusions, and psychiatrists say his schizophrenia is in full remission.
Oh, okay.
So on April 28th, he is found fit to stand trial. So here we are, we're almost 2 years after Brian Smith's death, and we're just getting to the initial parts of the trial.
Maybe my understanding of remission isn't accurate, but I thought remission meant it's gone.
No, remission means that you are no longer suffering symptoms.
Okay, because
And it is not progressing.
But I didn't. Okay.
So there were 2 juries impaneled. One would determine whether Jeffrey Arenburg was guilty of murder, and the other would determine if he was not criminally responsible.
Yeah.
So they want one to determine guilt and one to determine responsibility.
Yeah. Okay.
A day later, April 29th, 1997, Jeffrey Robert Arenburg was found not criminally responsible on account of mental disorder, NCR, for first-degree murder. So he had committed the murder.
Yep.
However, he is not criminally responsible. So what does that mean exactly? And a CBC article answered my 2 main questions really succinctly, so I'm going to quote them. What does NCR mean? A person is not found not criminally responsible just because they are suffering from a mental illness at the time of the commission of the crime. It must also be proven they did not have the capacity to appreciate their actions. Know right from wrong at the time of the offense, or if they were not in control of their behavior because of their mental illness. The defense must prove the accused is NCR on the, quote, balance of probabilities, or more likely than not. Only 2 in 1,000 cases end up with an NCR verdict. 2 in 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of those, charges of serious violence only account for 8.1% of NCR cases overall. So that's a very small percentage.
Yeah.
But these cases get a lot of attention.
Well, because the belief out there is, oh, you just have to claim that you're insane and you're going to get... It's like, it is not easy.
No.
You can't fake your way through an NCR.
Well, I don't know. I've never tried.
Well, I mean, is it possible? Sure. But, like, it's you can't just...
Yeah.
I
don't think that Jeffrey Arenburg was planning all the years from 1983 to 1995 to possibly shoot Brian Smith. You know, like...
Yeah.
So he's faking it for 22 years
Yeah,
prior.
no, that's not...
Well, 12 years, sorry.
Just the stats prove how difficult it is to be found not criminally responsible. So, no, it's not just this open door to be absolved of responsibility by anybody who just feels they were depressed or...
Right. And so the article goes on to say what happens after someone is designated NCR. It continues, with the new legislation, The goal became rehabilitation. Once someone is found NCR, they are managed by review boards, independent tribunals made up of at least 5 people, including a psychiatrist. Each year, most cases are heard by the board, which can order that the person remain detained in a hospital with varying levels of privileges, released on a conditional discharge, or ordered to be released on an absolute discharge. In conditional discharges, individuals are allowed into the community where they have substantial freedom with relatively light conditions. Absolute discharges means they are free without any supervision and are granted only when the boards find the person is not a, quote, significant threat to public safety. Few cases get an absolute discharge at the first hearing, end quote. This is the way Jeffrey Arenburg would be treated.
Okay.
He was housed in the Penetanguishene Mental Health Center, a maximum security psychiatric hospital. And it was the home to Peter Woodcock, who we've talked about, and some other notorious Canadian serial killers and murderers determined NCR. His first 5 years there were uneventful, and with medication and treatment, he started to get better.
Okay, which is the intent.
In the meantime, Alana Keynes turned the tragedy of Brian Smith's death into fighting for more attention to mental illness and fundraising for that cause.
Oh, wow.
As well, she started pleas for an inquest into Brian's death, which came about. She wanted more oversight for mentally ill patients who are determined NCR.
I can understand, yeah.
So the results of the inquest were 72 recommendations and changes to the Mental Health Act of Ontario. So in 2000, Bill 68, nicknamed Brian's Law, brought about much-needed changes to Ontario's Mental Health Act, especially in how the system deals with involuntary admission of people to psychiatric hospitals.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah.
And all this is in the hope that a tragedy like the one that befell Brian Smith would never happen again.
Yeah.
As Jeffrey's mental state improved, more freedoms were given to him, from escorted through non-escorted day passes, and in 2003, he was sent to a group home, and then on to live with his brother. The stipulations were he take his medication and stay within a certain area to report to the hospital once a week, which he did, except for one occasion. At one point, he broke with his regulations, going to see his friends outside the area he was supposed to remain in.
Okay.
He was contrite, saying it was a lapse in judgment, and promised never to do it again. He was not to own a weapon. He was not to drink alcohol or take any other non-medical drugs.
Okay.
So in May of 2005, Jeffrey was doing well. He was conditionally discharged and lived with his brother and was able to volunteer 2 days a week.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Arenburg's full release came in November of 2006. His recovery was called, quote, remarkable, and he was no longer suffering any symptoms. Things did go sideways again.
Yes, they did.
From court documents, quote, on November 29, 2007, Jeffrey Arenburg sought entry to the United States from Canada at the Peace Bridge in Buffalo, New York. The defendant did not have valid documentation for entry and was referred to secondary inspection. Customs and Border Protection Officer Jason Hart attempted to conduct a pat-down of the defendant, during which the defendant punched Officer Hart in the face. The defendant was arrested and charged with assaulting a police officer.
Yes.
End quote.
Well, because that's what you did.
So Jeffrey was trying to get into the U.S. by bus.
Yeah.
He tried on 2 previous occasions and was refused because he didn't have the correct papers again.
Yep.
The officer who was assaulted had recognized Jeffrey from his previous 2 refusals.
Okay.
Jeffrey chose to represent himself at trial.
Oh, God. Oh.
From court documents, Jeffrey Arenburg, quote, made various statements before the jury, both during his open statements and during cross-examination of government witnesses, wherein he referred to microwave channels in his head, the broadcasting of his thoughts over radio and TV, and a conspiracy by MGM. So that's why he wanted to back across the border. He wanted to go talk to MGM now.
Oh, okay.
So the voices were back.
Yeah.
Although Jeffrey claimed he was taking his medication the whole time, but it seemed pretty clear that he was not.
Yeah. That's one of the challenges. Unless you're watching somebody take it.
Exactly. And we'll get into that.
Yeah.
We are definitely going to get into that. Jeffrey made a terrible lawyer for himself and was convicted for the assault. An appeal was filed on his behalf by a public defender, but his conviction was upheld.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey was sentenced to 2 years in prison, but with time served, the sentencing judge said he could do his time back home here, saying, quote, enjoy Canada, end quote, whatever the hell that means.
What?
Yeah, it's like saying it's an awful place to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jeffrey was deported from the U.S. in September 2009 and dropped off at the Ontario border, where he went back to his brother's house for a while after that.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey's troubles were not over. In 2012, a police officer in Quebec tried to pull Jeffrey over for speeding, and he fled. In court, Jeffrey called the judge an idiot, which earned him another 6 months incarceration for contempt of court.
Yes, it does. You don't do that.
No, you can't call the judge an idiot.
No.
Jeffrey moved back to Bridgewater in 2013, where he holed up in a crappy motel near the outskirts of town. I know that hotel well from my bad old days, if you know what I mean.
It's very highbrow.
No, it is not very highbrow.
5 stars?
It is like no stars.
Negative stars.
It is a place where people go to drink themselves silly or buy drugs.
Okay. Yeah.
Or it used to be. I don't know if it is still.
Yeah, it's sad.
Life was not good for him there either. He was struggling again, and according to the Fifth Estate documentary filmed there at the time, he couldn't make life go. The documentary shows Jeffrey Arenburg shaking hands, fingernails just a bit too long, index and thumb on both his left and right hands yellowed and almost brown from years of smoking heavily. His icy blue eyes and long hair and gray beard, all disheveled, and his mustache was also turned orange by nicotine. Jeffrey, wearing reading glasses, sits on his laptop in an unlit room in his dingy hotel. McEwen says the laptop has no internet connection, but Jeffrey just spends hours in front of it playing solitaire. People were afraid of him in Bridgewater.
Yeah, I can understand.
They knew what he'd done before.
Yeah.
People remembered, hearing about what he'd done in Ottawa. It was a national story.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just ignored him.
Yeah.
Not making eye contact with him. They don't want to deal with that guy.
I can totally get and empathize.
Very, very small town.
Yeah.
And it's no kind of life.
No.
The interview progresses in the Fifth Estate documentary, and you can see Jeffrey is confused at points, and it's revealed he's no longer taking his antipsychotic olanzapine that seemed to have worked for him so well. He claims he no longer hears the voices, but we see those flashes of rage once in a while throughout the interview.
Yeah.
It was clear that he was still suffering.
Yeah, I've seen this episode. Yeah.
When he was asked what he would say to Alana Keynes if she were there, he says, quote, "What could I say? I can't change yesterday. It don't matter. If I bawl my eyes out to the end of the world, I can't change what happened yesterday or 18 years ago or 20 years ago. Don't matter what I do."
It's not very empathetic.
It's not empathetic at all, and it's an odd thing to say.
Yeah.
So I was trying to understand it from his perspective, but I'm struggling with it.
Yeah.
Like, does he not feel guilt? Or did he not feel guilt? And how does that even work? Like, does somebody who commits a crime in a psychotic state even relate to the state when they're medicated? Do they even relate to that event?
Those are great questions. And we also have to factor in his current state at the time of that interview, because if he's not taking his meds, his mind may be wonky at that point in time, and he may be hearing the voices.
Even though he's claiming it's not.
Even though he's claiming it's not. So in his mind, again, he may be thinking his acts were justified, but is aware that he can't say that because, So it's really tough to pinpoint. But it's not.
It was a difficult episode to watch.
It really was.
I mean, Brian Smith did not deserve to die.
No.
He did absolutely zero things to Jeffrey Arenburg.
Yes.
Zero.
To anybody.
He who knows, he may have even waved to the guy coming out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he sounded like a great person.
Yeah.
So did nothing
Yeah.
to Jeffrey Arenburg. But Jeffrey Arenburg, in this psychotic state, took his life.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, these are very, very difficult cases because typically it's easy for us to only empathize with the victim.
Right. So let's get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
Jeffrey moved back to Ottawa in 2014. He was in and out of shelters before getting his own apartment with the help of his disability payments, but he died alone of a heart attack in 2017, so he's no longer with us.
Mm-hmm.
And here's where we can talk about those high-profile NCR cases in Canada.
Yeah.
This is just one of them. We've covered another,
Yep.
the story of Matthew DeGrood, the
Yep.
person found NCR for murdering 5 young people in Calgary.
Yep.
And recently, he's just gaining some more freedom.
Yep.
So he's getting his unescorted passes. Alana Keynes referred to it as the 7-year cycle in the documentary. She called it a 7-year cycle. These guys will just get out after 7 years of being medicated.
Interesting, yeah.
And then they're free to do what they want.
Yeah.
With an absolute discharge, in Canada, you have no oversight. Nobody is looking over your shoulder.
An average regular citizen.
You are a citizen, and it is up to you to continue with treatment and your medication.
Yeah.
The same thing goes with Vince Lee.
Yeah.
He was the one who butchered Tim McLean on a Greyhound bus outside Winnipeg
Never
in 2011.
forget that. Yeah.
Vince was so decompensated, he cannibalized this young man, eating his eyes and a portion of his heart.
It's one of the most, I remember when it was happening vividly. Yeah. It was terrifying.
Vince has since gotten an absolute full release and has changed his name. He's moved, I believe, to he was in Winnipeg for a while. I think he's in Edmonton now. But whether or not he takes his medication is now solely up to him.
Yeah, yeah. See, this is where I get frustrated and challenged because I empathize with these guys.
They have zero criminal record.
I know, but you don't cure mental illness, you treat mental illness.
That's correct, yes.
And so, as I've always stated about when I was going through my terrible period, the problem we have is the tool we need to fix ourselves is our brain.
It's broken.
But our brain is the tool that's not working.
That's right.
Like, so there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that these individuals can, you forget to take your med one day and then you know what though? Like I feel okay. I feel fine. Yeah. Let me try it for a few, a week's gone by and I feel fine. I'm not here. Maybe I'm better and I don't need this.
And then gradually.
And then, it slowly, progressively comes back and your brain is no longer functioning. You can't self-report or self-medicate. And so it's, do I support the system? Yes. Do I think we need to treat these people differently? Yes. Is the process of them where they go to be treated proper? I think so. But I can't say I would be comfortable with them living next door.
Okay.
Just being blunt and honest, I can't say I would feel comfortable if one of these individuals was my neighbor, knowing how easy it can be to slip into a previous unhealthy state.
So this raises the question about these high-profile NCR cases. I mean, like we said, there's only a few of them.
Yeah,
they are very. There's a minimal number of people who murder and are declared NCR.
Yes. And I don't have a problem with that designation. I don't have a problem with that. But
it's like leading up to that. What could have been done for Jeffrey Arenburg? There were all these opportunities where he could have been sent for the help that he required.
Yeah.
But it's like our system is set up until somebody actually commits the crime or commits an act. I shouldn't even call it a crime because in the court's mind, this is not a crime. Yeah. It is an act.
Yeah. I think the challenge comes into play though is that I'm sure in the court system you see daily, if not multiple times a day, this exact behavior. Mm-hmm. And these individuals do not go on to commit crimes. And so then if we're to start instituting, well, you seem to be not well.
Exactly.
Are we now just forcibly, involuntarily incarcerate?
Like minority report.
Exactly. Are you just, and so, I'm not trying to pick a side here. I'm not trying to say you can't or you should. I'm just trying to
it's something we need to think about.
Yeah. I'm just trying to provide clarity on how difficult of a predicament it really is on all sides. As a judge, you don't want to be incarcerating.
Mm-hmm. I've known a lot of people who are schizophrenic, paranoid schizophrenic. I shouldn't say a lot. There are a few who have been in my life, and those people do say some scary things sometimes. Yeah. But I have never been hurt by any of them. Yeah. Even though I have heard, like I say, scary things, I have never seen them hurt anybody else.
Yeah. And they likely never will.
Yeah.
The vast majority never will and can be functioning parts of our society.
Yep.
And we don't want to just start locking them up because of fear.
Absolutely not. I mean, that's draconian.
Yeah.
We don't want to go backwards in human rights to those days. But
in the same vein, when you know the result of these cases and you go, well, there were these opportunities where we have seen, like, there has to be a better way. I'm not going to claim that I know that way, and I'm not going to claim that it's an easy way to find it, but there has to be a better way we can identify and manage these individuals.
It's like how can a medical professional maybe assess that person whether or not they're dangerous?
Yep, exactly. I totally agree.
I mean, Jim Clemente talks about it quite extensively. Past behavior is a definite indicator of future behavior.
Absolutely, yes.
So, but Jeffrey Arenburg didn't kill anybody until 1995. He was violent. Yeah. He punched Bob McLaren in the face, and if you knew Bob McLaren, he's such a nice man. Yeah. He was a tall guy. He could handle himself. He wasn't like a monster or anything, but he could have handled himself. Yeah. So his indicator is he'll punch somebody. Yeah. It's not shooting until 1995 when Brian Smith is shot for no good reason at all. Yeah.
I think there's also we need to reassess as a culture as well. Like I struggle with the thought of involuntarily forcing people into a psychiatric ward or anything. But
so let's go.
Yeah.
Let's stop talking about pre-offense now.
Okay.
So somebody has been found not criminally responsible for a murder.
Yes.
Okay. Now they're feeling better. They're out.
Yes.
They get an absolute discharge. This is where I have the problem.
Me as well.
So if you don't have a criminal record, but the courts and the community are well aware that you are capable of this offense. Yeah. If you are not taking your medication.
Yes.
If you are not taking your medication, you can decompensate to the point where you think murder is okay.
Yes.
So,
I talked earlier about how easy it is to suddenly not be taking. I feel better. I forgot to take it, and I feel like it's not difficult.
I know it's expensive, politicians. I know it's expensive to do, but perhaps we should have something set up, like if you're convicted of a crime and you go to jail for life. You are responsible to check in with police for life upon release. You are never excluded from life imprisonment. You could go back to jail if you mess up again. Even though you've been granted your full parole, you could go back to jail because you have been convicted of a crime and sentenced to life in prison. So, and I don't want to compare NCR to life in prison, but at the same time, that action doesn't need to happen again. Well, and we don't want it to happen again. So let's set up some way that these guys have to report to a medical professional every month. If you go to a medical professional every month, you're taking your meds, they check you out, they say, yep, you seem great, fantastic. Yeah. If you don't show up, you're back in the ward.
I'll even go beyond that in the sense of, so what we know and has been proven is that while medicated and doing what you need to do, you're healthy and stable. When not medicated, your brain malfunctions.
Yes.
So that is one of the key fundamental deciders in how this person is going to be conducting themselves moving forward. And so for my understanding with methadone, and again, like I'm not just I support all these things, but you have to go and take it in front of the people who provide it to you.
There's other reasons for that, but
anyway. Well, but I mean,
I know. I have familiarity with that whole system in a way that maybe you don't. But
I know you're spot on, but I'm just saying, like, there's got to be something that can be implemented and set up where it is mandatory. Your release. Mm-hmm. You being able to
methadone is voluntary. That's number one.
Well,
that's a voluntary.
But I mean, just like in the setup of it, where you remove the voluntary component. I don't, and I'm open to the discussion, but I don't have a problem with if a life has been taken by somebody, even if not criminally responsible, nonetheless, a life has been taken, and part of the consequence of that is that if what is going to keep you walking a straight line is medication, we have something in place where you're forced to have to take that medication.
Well, it's like the Charter of Rights is set up now regarding this situation, that the rights of the one outweigh the rights of the many.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people have been crying out lately. I see all the posts in other groups and some in ours about Matthew DeGroot.
Yeah.
And he's getting his release, and people are angry. And they're not angry because they hate him. They're angry because they are afraid of him.
Yeah, and I can understand.
And
I get it.
They fear him.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they're wrong in a way.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm not saying anything against Matthew DeGroot because he seems very contrite about what he does.
He does.
He comes from a family that is definitely
supportive.
There for him and supportive. So he has a good
system in place.
He's got a good support system to ensure that he transitions well.
But I get the other side too. Yeah, I get the other side. Like you're worried for your safety in your lives, and
we got to find a way in Canada to deal with this better, because people laugh at us for this stuff. Other countries are like looking at us and saying, "Wow, that's crazy."
Yeah, but then we look at them and we're laughing for quite the opposite
because we
reason.
think they're too harsh.
Yeah, well, not that they're too
Well, there are people in jail for stealing a coat for life in prison.
Exactly, and so
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, there's no perfect system, but we live in Canada. I love our country, and I would love for us to help pioneer our country some way to better treat and navigate these situations, because I'm not.
Well, and this is my entire intent in tackling this particular case. Yeah. And there are some other not criminally responsible cases that I plan to tackle. Yeah. And they will not be Matthew DeGroot again, no, because we've talked about that. Nor will it be Vince Lee, because that has been done to death. Yeah. People know all about that case. Yeah. There are other ones here in Canada that I think are worth looking at. Yeah, yeah. And at no point in time are we trying to say anything. We're not trying to steer anybody in a direction. We just want to have a conversation of the survivors and their needs aren't warranted. A lot of Keynes has done a lot of work. She sounds like an amazing human. And she said herself, this ripped a hole in my soul. Yeah. And of course it did. Yeah. And her watching Jeffrey Arenburg not being contrite probably hurt again. Absolutely. And the thing I love is, though, how she's trying to be, like, her steps are actually being an advocate for mental health. Well, trying to create more support around it to prevent these kind of things from happening, which is most people, myself included, would probably just want, my focus would be on this person no longer existing. Yeah. And so she's an amazing and strong individual. Yeah. But in the same vein, I get mental health. I understand it. And I have empathy on that side too. And so this isn't about like a side. This is about how can we try to find a way to best support society and the mentally ill. There you go. Yeah. So that's it for this week's story. Holy crap. Whew, what a doozy. Yeah. So we had a lot of discussion, which is good. Yeah. Yeah. I would love to be involved in making a difference in this way. Yeah. So if somebody knows of a rights group that we could possibly even talk to after another NCR podcast when we talk about this particular topic, we would love to hear from them.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So we are open to ensuring that the advocates have their say on both sides. And if people want to advocate for something other than...
Yeah, because as we say at the beginning of every episode, we're not experts on anything.
No.
And so we're okay being wrong or uninformed. We would love to be able to have conversations and discussions where we can learn as well.
We've just got some ears now.
Yeah.
So let's make the best use of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
If I can make it any kind of difference in the way things get done, that would be fantastic.
It would be amazing,
sure
incredible. 100%. That's just would just be the most powerful thing to have ever achieved, is to create some kind of cultural improvement.
A change of some kind, for the better.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure we could do it the other way pretty easily.
I've done a lot of that.
Anyway. Yeah.
That's it for this week's story. Whoa.
Ooh, nap time.
No naps.
No.
Scott.
Yes.
Somebody called us and was very upset with us.
Oh, shit. With us?
With us.
Okay.
Yeah. And, there was some directed directly at you. But let's have a listen to this person, and we'll address his concerns.
Okay, well,
on the other side.
You're speaking for me, but let's, I'll see if I want to address his concerns.
Well, on the other side of the voicemail, we'll have a conversation.
Okay, let's take a little listen-y poo.
I don't understand this. Why doesn't anybody answer this phone? I really need to get a hold of you. My name is Francis J. McGillicuddy III. I have something to say to you two young bucks. If you use our last name in a negative way anymore, I'm going to have my lawyer excoriate you two. You will be burned at the stake. I don't know what we're going to do. I've had enough. Shitbird McGillicuddy, Pooh Butt McGillicuddy, Turd Lips McGillicuddy, Predator I just have had enough. And especially you, Hemingway. That's it.
So, he had some special words for you there.
Wow, he's pretty... Well, I forgot his name, but why is Sunshine McGillicuddy so worked...
Oh, it's Francis McGillicuddy III.
Are you sure?
That's what he said.
I swear it was Sunshine McGillicuddy.
Oh, no.
I swear it was.
No, you've done it before. You use McGillicuddy as the last name of somebody that you're making fun of. Or
that may happen. It may have happened.
Numerous times since I've known you.
It may have happened a bunch of times.
Bunch of times. But now, Mr. McGillicuddy is there on the other end.
Well, maybe we should...
Feeling as though he's being hard done by. So.
Okay, but burn us at the stake? And great application of the word excoriate. Well done there, Sunshine.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
But I don't...
I'm not endorsing any of this conversation that Scott is having.
There's a lot of anger in McGillicuddy's...
Well, he's probably takes some pride in his family name, and the McGillicuddy's, I'm not sure...
Do you know their lineage?
I'm not even interested in their lineage.
Okay. Well, maybe we should bring in Sunshine to have a sit down and we'll work this out together.
Maybe on one of our after shows we'll do that.
We'll have a little powwow and a come to Jesus moment. And I'm not going to give, but maybe I can explain to Sunshine why I feel so passionate about keeping...
Okay, so you're telling Sunshine, or Francis, to go shit in his hat at this point.
To shit in his McGillicuddy. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So if you want to leave us a voicemail, much like Francis McGillicuddy III did, you can do so at 604-595-2448. That's right, 604-595-2448. You can also find that number again on darkpoutine/contact. But I'm a little concerned. Hopefully, if you're creative or if you have some comments or something like that, we would love to hear from you. And Mr. McGillicuddy, we'll have some more conversation with you later.
Well, clearly something needs to be sorted out.
We need to sort this out in a big way.
Yeah, Buttercup.
Who are you calling Buttercup? Mr. McGillicuddy?
Yeah.
Well, what did he do?
Well, he seemed quite angry, so I'm trying to give him calm, pleasant names. Like Sunshine is
Sunshine.
Everybody loves Sunshine.
Instead of Pooh Lips.
Everybody loves Buttercups. So, I mean, just trying to...
Oh, my God.
Just trying to make him feel better.
We're getting in so much trouble.
It needs to happen sometimes.
And before we go, guess what time it is?
7 p.m.?
Well, it's in that range.
Okay, all right.
Is it?
No, I don't
No,
know.
it's 5. It's only 5 o'clock.
Phew!
I was going to say, have we been doing this for that long? Because I know you came over at like 3.
Yeah. Well, we had 4 hours of technical difficulties.
Oh, boy. Well, anyway, so what we're going to do...
What are we going to do?
Patreon shout-outs. It's time to thank our patrons for
That's
this
right.
week. First up, we have Jillian Major, and she is from Guelph, Ontario, where my father went to veterinary school.
I don't know why I've always loved the name Guelph.
Guelph is a weird name.
I picture it like nymphs and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It does sound very English.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Jillian, are you a nymph or fairy or, I don't know, a brownie? Because that's another type of fairy.
What?
Yeah.
I've never heard of a brownie.
That live in Guelph. Guelph.
Now I want a brownie.
I know. Not a special one, though. Kim Neubauer. She is from Germering in Germany.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Germany represent.
There you go.
Thank you, Kim.
Muchos gracias. Or as the Germans say,
Wiener Schnitzel.
okay, and danke.
And Danke. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Not Wiener Schnitzel. Krista Hanley, and she's from Somerville, South Carolina. South Carolina.
You know, I'd really like to go to South Carolina.
I'd like to go to any Carolina, but South Carolina in particular because
It's just
it's southern.
Yeah, I really want to experience some of that southern hospitality, more so than we did in New Orleans.
We did get some good hospitality.
Hey, baby.
Hey, baby. Yeah, that was funny. That waitress was really
That
funny.
was like one of the highlights
And that was
of the
the
whole
very
thing.
end.
Yeah, right at the airport hotel. Hey, babies, can I get you something to eat?
What do you want there, sweetie pie?
You need some more coffee, baby? Everything was baby. It was so great.
So, okay, then what we'll do, we'll come to Somerville, and hopefully Christina Hanley will call us baby.
Hey, baby.
Hey, baby.
Oh, hey, babies. Can I get you a table? Sure.
Oh, boy.
Please get us a table.
Caroline Newart, and she's from Austin, Texas.
Another place I want to go.
Yes. I have family in Austin,
I do not.
and they want me to come there for South by Southwest.
Oh, God. That would be so great.
I'm invited. It's like a standing invitation.
Oh, I've always wanted to go to that.
Yeah, well, maybe we should do it one year.
I don't think so.
Let's apply and see if they want some Canadian true crime podcast there, because sometimes that might happen.
You know what? That's brilliant.
Could happen.
Yeah.
And next up is Crystal Posh from, looks like Cold Lake, Alberta.
Oh, yeah, I think I've heard of Cold Lake, Alberta.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're both kind of from watery location. Clearwater, BC, Cold Lake, Alberta.
Bridgewater.
Whoa, there's
Yeah.
an aqua theme to this.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, look at me. I am a maritimer, of course.
Yeah.
Been on boats and all that kind of. I don't know about Cold Lake, though.
Why?
It sounds like
Cold?
a cold
Well,
lake.
yeah. No, I
Probably
mean,
get a pretty bad case of shrinky dink in
Yeah.
Cold Lake.
inverted.
Inverted dink. It went to hide. Where'd it go? It's inside.
I have an innie.
That's what she said.
Oh.
Sydney Martins from Abbotsford, BC.
Hey.
We appreciate it.
We
Sydney.
really
Thank
do.
you very
We
much.
really do.
Next up is Chantel.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, Kretjachuk. Krevjachuk. Krevjachuk.
The singer.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Krevjachuk. Kretchian.
No, she's John Chrétien related in some way.
Chantel
You're just making shit up.
I don't know how to pronounce that name.
Kraviachuk.
That's it. Yes, that's her. That's her. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She's now a carpenter. I was going to say woodsmith, but it's
Like
not.
with Karen Carpenter?
No, Mike, that's just silly. No, she's
Karen Carpenter died.
she builds homes.
Oh,
Yeah, single-handedly, no help.
builds homes.
Yeah, but she does it that old style where you don't use nails or anything. Everything is just like shivs and whatnot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a real trade. It's a real art.
She even makes her own nails.
She does. No, she doesn't. I just said she doesn't use nails.
Oh, it's like... I gotcha.
Yeah, that old school way of doing
Like
it.
the pegs.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, pegs.
interesting.
Yeah, no, it's really quite. It's it's quite a transition going from a famous musician singer to. But hey, she's always been an artist.
Well, thanks, Chantel.
Yep, thanks, Chantel.
Christina Baldwin, and she's from Overland Park in Kansas.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Overland Park.
I prefer Underland Park,
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
but yeah, Overland is still great as well.
Well, I like to go over. Because if you go under...
I'm a tunneler. I'm a
okay.
tunneler.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm a tunneler. So
Fair enough.
yeah.
Fair enough.
I'm a Underland.
I like the pole vault.
You clearly do.
Pole vaulting over. Well, they don't make the tunnels big enough for fat people to get through.
You've got more of a pole vaulter physique.
No, I do not. Oh, well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Totally.
Another Christina.
Whoa.
Like 2 in a row. There's 3 Christinas this time so far.
Jeez.
And this is Christina Brennan, and she's from Austin,
We
Texas.
got another Austin, Texas?
There's actually 2 from Austin, Texas?
Maybe they're friends.
They could be.
Maybe they're friends and they're like, yo, we should Patreon.
Carolyn and Christina, do you guys know each other? Maybe?
I hope
don't know.
so, because if you don't, maybe you reach out.
Yeah, exactly.
You clearly both like Canadian true crime.
You can have your own meetup.
Yeah.
Your own Dark Poutine meetup.
Yeah.
And
Send us photos.
Tell South by Southwest that we want to come.
Yeah, do that, because we'll be there. So
Thanks.
Thank you, Christina.
Thanks, Christina. And next up, we have from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, Elaine Gill.
Yeah, didn't John Hamm just buy you?
Oh, Moose Jaw. He bought
a
Moose Jaw?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Haven't you seen that commercial?
You asked me that last week, and I have still not seen it.
It's a good
But it's
commercial.
kind of like on purpose I haven't seen
It's
it.
a good commercial.
I don't watch TV.
Your American is showing, he says.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been to Moose Jaw.
I may have driven through it. I don't remember. It was a while ago.
I drove through Saskatchewan on my way back from Nova Scotia, but I don't remember going directly through Moose Jaw.
I feel like I have, but I don't, because I drove through, coming and going through Saskatchewan.
But I do love some of the names of the places in the prairies.
Yeah.
Moose Jaw.
Yeah.
They're great names.
Yeah.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Winter Kernow.
What a beautiful name.
And she is from Campbell River, the place that we've been talking about. We've been talking about in our
Yes.
previous 2 episodes,
Yes.
which is kind of interesting.
Very interesting. And thank you. That is a beautiful name.
Winter Kernow.
Winter. That's
Yeah.
great. That's great.
Sad we didn't see you at the meetup this weekend, but such is life.
Well, I didn't see anybody there.
No, we didn't see you there either,
Yeah.
Scott.
Semantics.
Semantics. Potato.
Potato, potato, tomato, tomato.
Yeah. So thank you, Winter. Yes, it is a very nice
you.
name. It does flow.
It
Winter
really
Kernow.
does. It really does.
Yeah. Cassandra Fair, and she's from Richmond, Texas.
Well, that's another really Cassandra Fair.
Cassandra Fair.
Sounds like
Have you been to Cassandra Fair?
it sounds like it would have been like a warped tour kind of like yeah Cassandra Fair's in town.
Well, Cassandra, the last name Fair is actually I saw that a lot in around my hometown in Nova Scotia.
Oh, really?
Lunenburg
Okay.
County. Yeah.
All right.
So maybe she's some sort of relative of ours too. I don't
Yep.
know.
Yeah. Oh, well,
Could be.
could be. Welcome to the family.
Thanks, Cassandra.
Thanks, Cassandra.
Next up, we have Lisa Walker.
Yeah.
And Lisa, I'm not really entirely sure about.
Oh, she's a runner.
Yeah, but there's got to be a goal. So we've had tree climber.
Yeah.
But so what is the goal of the running?
So Lisa Walker is a runner, and But
This is terrible.
No.
So Lisa Walker is a runner.
Yeah, she's a runner courier. She's a courier by trade.
What is she currying?
Runners.
So Lisa Walker is a runner who couriers runners.
Yeah, it's clear as day. Makes perfect sense.
Like the shoes?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like other runners. Like she doesn't have actual humans in her backpack.
That's preposterous.
As is most things that we talk about.
No, this is
part of the show.
Facts aren't preposterous, Mike.
Well, thank you, Lisa Walker,
Runner.
who's a runner.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Lisa.
Jen Burke, and is from Mississauga, Ontario.
Did you know it's the Mississaugiest?
Apparently, is it? I always thought, like, when I hear Mississauga, I hear the word Mississippi in it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I hear Sauga, and I think soggy.
Wow, now that's in my head.
Mississauga.
Yeah, now that's always going to
Like,
be.
I think it's like damp. Always very damp in
Jeez.
Mississauga. I know it's not.
Moist?
I've been to. Carol's favorite word is moist.
Yeah, she just turned the show off.
She stopped listening. But yeah, Jen, so I know Mississauga isn't soggy, but I don't know what it is.
Oh, no.
Mississauga.
Yeah, now me and everybody else listening has that in our heads.
That it's soggy?
Thanks, Mike. But more so, thank you, Jen Burke.
Yes, much appreciated. Sylvie Monette, and she's from Calgary, Alberta,
That is really.
where the Flames beat the Canucks the other night very soundly in their home opener, shutting
Sure,
them out in game
sure,
2.
Yeah, sure. I'll take your word for it. Hockey.
Scott doesn't watch anymore because the Canucks are no good.
No, it's not even the Canucks. It's just like I just lost interest in hockey after
But here's the thing.
30
they
years.
were never really any good.
the Canucks. I love. I've always loved the Canucks.
Yeah.
But that's just I don't know. I don't know what it is.
It's just a sad thing now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a sadness.
So thank you, Sylvie.
Thank you, Sylvie, and enjoy your Flames hockey.
Yeah, I mean,
they'll
sure.
do all week. They'll do great this year.
Sure.
I love the Red Mile, like that. Their whole
that's all.
They're very into their game.
Yeah.
And you know, like I wish that Canucks fans were as on board as we used to be. I don't think we've ever been like that, though.
We had an Orange Mile. That was mainly just stuff on fire from riots.
No.
Yeah.
You're a terrible person.
Well, not inaccurate.
Then there's Nick O'Toole
Oh.
from Ambler, Pennsylvania.
Well, hey, Nick.
Nick O'Toole.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Ambler.
Ambler.
So do people just amble around?
You know?
Is it named after like zombies? Like zombies ambling about?
No, it was actually, the city was originally called Rambler.
Oh,
But the R fell off the sign, and they just went with it.
They just couldn't afford to put it back.
It'd be easier for us to just capitalize the A.
Yeah.
And, you know, so
somebody drew painted a big A.
Yeah, well, we're Ambler now.
Yeah, so now we're ambling.
Yep, change your letterhead.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So thank you, Nick. And last but not, well, no, it's not last. Next up, we have Felicity Waymer.
Hey, Felicity.
And she's from Stettler, Alberta. So
Oh.
we have talked about Stettler with the Cook murders.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we've had a couple of Albertas today.
Yeah. So thank you, Alberta. Where are you, British Columbia? Oh, there's one. The Abbotsford.
Abby.
We had Sydney Martins from Abbotsford.
That's right.
But British
okay.
Columbians don't like us.
It's okay. Spread the wealth. Well, let's hope that's not true because we'll be doing a live show.
Yeah, we're hoping some Albertans come for the live show.
That would be great.
That would be pretty neat.
Yeah.
I would love to see people there who have traveled for the show.
Yep.
And just so you know, after the show, we will stick around and you can meet us.
Yep. We'll shake all your hands and kiss your babies.
We'll shake your babies and kiss your hands.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll do.
We'll sign foreheads.
Right, because we're not allowed to touch anything else.
Yeah, we'll
Because
sign-
our wives will be there.
We'll sign foreheads.
Yeah, they won't. They are not happy with that kind of thing. Well, as they shouldn't be, you know.
Oh.
We had some donut money.
Oh, okay.
And it's from Maggie Mihalko
thanks, Maggie.
And she is from York, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
In the United States of America.
that's outside of Canada.
It is outside of Canada,
Yeah.
but she said, "Hi, Mike and Scott. I just want to say thank you for the wonderful podcast that is Dark Poutine. At first, I found it almost comically Canadian, but as time went on, you both shared your stories and gave the victims and their families time and respect they deserve.
Oh.
Dark Poutine quickly moved to the top of my podcast list as one of the best true crime pods out there. Truly a pleasure to listen to, even on the darker days, because of the thoughtfulness and regard you approach each subject. I hope that continues to shine through.
Yeah.
I've just finished binging all the episodes, but I plan to download them all to re-listen on my flight to Italy for my honeymoon. Well, congratulations!
Congrats! Oh,
Poutine shall be spread across the globe. Enjoy the donut money. Make sure you get a double-double with your order. Well, you know what? Thank you so much, Maggie.
That was so sweet.
And congrats to you and your new partner, because we don't want to assume anything.
Nope.
We have learned better.
Love is love.
Love is love.
So, in Italy, what a great place to go for a honeymoon.
She gave us donut money
Yeah.
just getting married and going on honeymoon. Like,
Yeah, that's
wow.
crazy. That's crazy.
Like, save your money.
You
and
should
go.
be asking us for money. Like,
Well, don't
those
say
are
that.
those aren't
Somebody might actually.
those are not inexpensive endeavors.
No,
Weddings and honeymoons.
No, both of those things are quite
They'll bankrupt you.
exactly. And we got a message from Brittany Corcoran, and she said, "Hi, my favorite Northerners. I changed my Patreon to PM last month, but have not heard a shout out.
Oh, what?
Oh no!
Oh no!
I must recommend you go shit in your hat, poop in your toque. Love." So
That's fair. That's fair.
Brittany, we're so sorry. We're Canadian sorry.
Yeah, we're
It's
which
not
is the
just like a
ultimate
default
sorry. Yeah, that's the
Like, it's
ultimate
like,
sorry.
Yeah, we're the ultimate sorry.
Yeah.
So thank you for upping your pledge to PM status.
Yes, Brittany.
Sometimes we miss that in the notifications. It doesn't notify us properly. So, yeah, thanks for the heads up. that you
Brittany.
did that.
Brittany.
Yes.
We are so sorry.
We are so sorry.
sorry.
Call and leave us a voicemail so we can play it on the show.
Dude, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, if it doesn't cost you money to actually do that, because we are far away, I presume, from Brittany Corcoran. But you know what? If you've got one of those cell plans that allow you to make those calls in U.S. and Canada, call.
Yeah.
Well, call that
we'll
number.
even put it on the air. I mean, unless it's a death threat or something.
We'd even play that.
Yeah.
I think probably we'd play that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and then we'd be calling the RCMP as well.
But yeah, and we'd be doing all that live. Have the RCMP here. And
No.
that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, it does sound like way too much work, to tell you the truth. Thanks so much to our patrons, past and present, for your pledges. We really appreciate your support of the show. If you want to help support us, you can do so at patreon.com/darkpoutine, or for one-time support, you can send some donut money via PayPal at our email address, darkpoutine@gmail.com. If you don't already, it means a lot to us if you've subscribed to the show. You can easily find us on iTunes, Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, or wherever you get your on-demand audio. Check out our website, darkpoutine.com, for show notes and other cool stuff. Please give us a like on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for Dark Poutine. Most importantly, tell your friends about us. Word of mouth is a powerful thing. Come to the damn live show on November 9th. If you can, at the Rio Theater in Vancouver. We really want to see you there.
We'd so appreciate it.
We would so appreciate it, and I am going to be mortified if I look out and just see our wives are the only ones sitting there, and maybe our friend Wes.
Because even our wives probably wouldn't stick around.
It's like Flight of the Conchords and their one fan.
Exactly.
And then she doesn't even come sometimes.
Exactly.
She's sick.
Yeah.
No,
it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I know it. It's going to be great.
So that's it. Don't forget to be a good egg and not a bad apple.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Guten Tag. Oh, no. Guten Abend.
Guten flirten.
Guten Schnitzel.
Yeah, guten Schnitzel.
Bye.
Schnitzel.